This video is brought to you by NordVPN. Want to browse the web with safety and security? NordVPN has you covered. By going to nordvpn.com/halocanon, you can save 68% on a new subscription. Stick around for more details. We've covered the UNSC, so now it's time to dive into the Covenant once again. We'll be going light on weapons we've covered extensively in previous videos where appropriate, but there's plenty of new items in Halo 3 to make up the difference. So, let's dive headfirst into the Covenant Armory. Starting things off as usual is the Eru Armory's Type 25 Plasma Pistol, the standard issue plasma weapon for the Covenant. Primarily used by lower ranking infantry like Ungoi, Kigyar, or Yanmaya, the plasma pistol features two firing modes, a semi-automatic mode and an overcharged shot. The overcharged shot releases an EMP upon impact with a target, capable of taking down shields, disabling an enemy vehicle, or disabling brute power armor. Like all plasma weapons, the plasma pistol builds up heat as it fires and will forcibly vent heat if necessary. We next have the familiar Type 25 plasma rifle, also from the Sanghilio-based Eru Armory. Composed of twin plasma generators that alternate fire for an overall faster firing rate, the plasma rifle is fully automatic and has an effective range of 50 meters. Its history stretches back to the War of Beginnings, the war between the Sanghili and the Sanchayum that ended in the founding of the Covenant. The plasma rifle has largely gone unchanged in design through its service, the modern look being a combination of Sanghili craftsmanship and Sanchayum artistry, almost making a physical manifestation of the writ of union between the species. While Halo 2 introduced the brute plasma rifle, Halo 3 only features the regular plasma rifle. The Type 25 Carbine, known as the Spike Rifle or Spiker, and occasionally the Hatchet Gun, is a Jiralhanae firearm produced by High Charity's Sacred Promissory, a name that you'll come to hear a lot. As the designation suggests, the Spiker was one of the earliest weapons that saw action in the Human Covenant War, all the way back to the first encounters with the Covenant on Harvest in 2525. Designed to meet more traditional Jiralhanae sensibilities, the Spiker has seen little iteration since the days of pre-Covenant conflicts on the Jiralhanae homeworld of Doisak. It fires spikes of tungsten alloy from a 40-round magazine, these spikes coated in a pyrophoric compound unique to Doisak. This coating ignites with white-hot intensity the moment it's exposed to oxygen, superheating the spikes and rendering them semi-molten. These spikes are adept at penetrating shields and armor, though they can be deflected by energy swords. In addition, the Spiker has a pair of tungsten bayonets sharp enough to cut straight through a shotgun in at least one instance. It also has a small blade at the end of the handle. All of this makes the Spiker a rather heavy weapon. Intended for one-handed use by Jiralhanae warriors, human marines would need to use two hands to wield it properly. Only someone like a Spartan could wield it with a single hand, or wield two of them at the same time. This weight also results in a reduced recoil and forces a lot of exaggerated movements for just about any operation. Cycling the bolt, reloading, even squeezing the trigger requires a bit of effort. The Type 52 pistol, aka the Mauler, is a sidearm produced by the Sacred Promissory for Jiralhanae warriors, particularly around the time of the Great Schism towards the end of the Human Covenant War. Among the Jiralhanae, the Mauler first saw use during the Battle of Gebrakan on Doisak, not long before the species was found by the Covenant. It would find popularity among Jiralhanae security forces, but was rarely seen by humans prior to the Battle of Earth. Firing 7.9mm bolts from its 5-round detachable cylinder magazine, the Mauler is classified more as a handheld shotgun by human standards. Though not as powerful as the M90 used by most Marine forces, it is still quite lethal, especially when dual-wielded. Like other Jiralhanae weapons, the Mauler has a blade attachment, though the Mauler's is quite small by comparison. The Type 33 guided munitions launcher is another Sacred Promissory production in use by the Covenant, both Loyalist and Separatist forces, following the Great Schism, as is the case for much of the Covenant's traditional arsenal. From its internal magazine, the Needler fires crystalline explosive projectiles at a rate of roughly 510 rounds per minute. These crystals, or needles, are made of blamite or Sudanese crystal, a rare substance found on the Sanghelios moon of Suban. Able to lock onto heat or organic signatures, the crystals embed themselves into a target, eventually exploding. If enough are embedded in the same target, they'll cause a super combine explosion, ripping a target to shreds. The Needler has an effective range of 64 meters and its magazine can vary in size. In Halo 3, the Needler has 19 rounds per magazine. The Type 51 Carbine, commonly referred to as the Covenant Carbine, is a weapon manufactured by the Eru Armory for Covenant frontline forces. Being one of the few non-plasma-based weapons in the mainline Covenant arsenal, the Carbine fires 8.7 by 60mm caseless radioactive projectiles at roughly 700 meters per second at an effective range of 600 meters. Its detachable cylindrical magazine holds 18 rounds. Though records note its use as early as 2526, the Carbine wasn't properly cataloged until 2551, when it began to properly overshadow the then standard T-31 needle rifle. In the field, it is most commonly used by Sangheili and Jiralhanae forces, along with deadly Kig-Yar marksmen. The Type 25 grenade launcher is another sacred promissary production for use by Jiralhanae forces. Known to UNSC infantry as the Brute Shot or Death Lobber, this weapon saw use throughout the Human Covenant War. However, as the Prophet of Truth was preparing to replace the Sangheili with the Jiralhanae as the Covenant's main military force, the Brute Shot needed to be altered for mass production. The original Brute Shot held 4 grenades, which would prime on impact, then explode shortly after, allowing them to be ricocheted. Halo 3 introduces the Type 25B Brute Shot, a mass-produced variant that holds 6 grenades. However, the grenades for this newer Brute Shot are poorly shaped and explode on impact. Still, both variations of the weapon feature a massive blade that can easily take out personal energy shields and slice through armor and flesh. The Type 50 sniper rifle system, known as the Particle Beam Rifle, is a directed energy weapon produced by High Charity's Assembly Forges. Powered by an internal battery, the weapon fires accelerated ionized hydrogen particles at roughly 3,657 meters per second at an effective range of 1,500 meters or 49,000 feet with very little recoil. Most commonly it finds use by Kig-Yar snipers, and like other plasma weapons, it will overheat if fired too rapidly, forcibly venting the heat if needed. The T-50 rifle replaced the older T-27 model as the Human Covenant War went on, though the Covenant makes less distinction between the outer casings than human observers. The model for the Particle Beam Rifle in Halo 3 has several differences from its Halo 2 counterpart, though whether these are to be considered canonical variants or just the result of graphics remains unknown. The Type 33 light anti-armor weapon is an Assembly Forges produced shoulder-fired mortar. Known to humanity as the Fuel Rod Gun and occasionally the Flak Cannon, this gun fires Class 2 38mm radioactive explosive fuel rods from a 5-round clip. The fuel rods, made of an imperfect replica of Forerunner infusion gel, can literally bounce off surfaces when fired, though become unstable after a few meters and explode on impact. The open nature of the fuel rod clip leaves the operator exposed to the weapon's radiation, something not too uncommon for Covenant weaponry in general. For much of the war, the fuel rod gun would be found to self-destruct when its operator was killed, though this became less and less common in the final year of the war. The Type 1 energy weapon / sword is a Sangheili martial weapon that dates its legacy to the days of the Judge King Arbiters that ruled over ancient Sanghelios. An evolution of ancient curved blades and later burn blades, the energy sword as we know it was created during an age of discovery within the Covenant. Considered to be a holy relic to the Sangheili, its use is heavily restricted in civilian life, with only aristocrats allowed to carry the weapon and swordsmen not allowed to marry. They can instead mate with any female they choose to pass on these swordsman genes, as it were. In the Covenant military, though, such restrictions are far more loose. Though various energy swords are manufactured by different producers and keeps, the mainline energy sword used by the Covenant military is produced in High Charity's Assembly Forges. The Type 2 energy weapon / hammer is a Jiralhanae weapon based on the old war hammers used by the species in their pre-Covenant days. Known as the Gravity Hammer to humanity, these hammers were typically wielded by Jiralhanae pack leaders as a sign of their authority. The modern Gravity Hammer is based on the Fist of Rucht, once wielded by Tartarus. These Gravity Hammers are produced once again within High Charity's Sacred Promissary. While only one variation of the hammer is encountered in Halo 3, the lore sees a number of variants. A notable version is known as Tartarus's Gavel, an enhanced gravity hammer that would unleash a wave of kinetic explosions and could EMP vehicles. These were commissioned in secret by Tartarus with the help of the Prophets and rewarded to loyal lieutenants. The Type 52 directed energy support weapon makes its debut in Halo 3. Produced by the Assembly Forges, the portable plasma cannon can be set up anywhere on the battlefield as needed. Its tripod mounting features no connected components, instead supported and held together by anti-gravity technology. These bonds can be broken by a strong operator like a Spartan, Sangheili, or Jiralhanae, and the gun carried around as a heavy weapon. In fact, it's not that uncommon to see Sangheili generals or Jiralhanae war chieftains deploy with plasma cannons in hand. The cannon features 3 protective shields, though they provide very little actual protection. In addition to their variant models, the T-52 plasma cannon can be seen used on Phantom dropships, and a variation of it is used in the gunner ring of certain variants of the Type 26 Wraith. The Shade gun comes in a number of configurations, and Halo 3 features the Type 26 anti-infantry stationary gun. This variant features a near fully armored front to protect its operator. Rather than direct sight, operators rely on video screens to see their targets. The sides of this Shade model are less armored, with the back being fully exposed, though some variations, not seen in Halo 3, feature energy shields to fully encase the operator. The Type 26 Shade fires superheated plasma bolts and operates on a 360-degree traversal, meaning the operator has almost no restrictions on where they can aim. That brings us to the now familiar Type 1 AntiPersonnel grenade or plasma grenade. When primed, the grenade will begin leaking coolant and quickly heat up. Its smart matter casing can determine whether a target is enemy infantry or environment, and in the former case, the leaking coolant will allow the grenade to burn its way into the target's surface to stick. When the coolant is gone, the plasma generator inside the grenade destabilizes and explodes. The plasma grenade has a kill radius of 3.96 meters or 13 feet, and a damage radius of 12.9 meters or 42 feet. Halo 3 expands the grenade offerings of Halo with 2 new Jiralhanae grenades, the first being the Type 2 Anti-Personnel Fragmentation Grenade or Spike Grenade. Also referred to as the Table Leg or Nail Bomb by UNSC Infantry, this grenade is produced, like all Jiralhanae weaponry, by the Sacred Promissary. Covered in numerous razor-sharp spikes, the grenade can cling to just about any surface, including shielded enemies in some cases. The exception would seem to be Jiralhanae Chieftain power armor, which can seemingly deflect these and plasma grenades. When a spike grenade is embedded in a target, it will detonate after a short period, sending shrapnel or spikes flying everywhere. The spikes are also coated in a pyrophoric sulfur nitrate/potassium compound, which ignites when it touches open air, rapidly heating the shrapnel to 270 to 315 degrees Celsius for a period of 7 seconds. The spikes will also ricochet off hard surfaces, making them more likely to embed in infantry soft tissue. The spike grenade has a kill radius of 3 meters or 9.8 feet, and a casualty radius of 11 meters or 36 feet. It is theorized by UNSC personnel that the spike grenade is designed less to kill and more to maim, forcing the enemy to spend time and resources treating injuries and for victims to die an agonizing death. Next, we have another Jiralhanae grenade, the Type 3 Anti-Personnel Anti-Materiel Incendiary Grenade. It is known colloquially by many names, including the Incendiary Grenade, the Flame Grenade, and the Firebomb. Produced by the Sacred Promissary, the Firebomb is rather simple compared to other grenades. Containing an incendiary gel, the Firebomb's casing converts to a liquid upon impact with a hard surface, releasing its contents which immediately ignite upon contact with oxygen. The pyrophoric alkali metal cesium chemical compound burns at a temperature of around 2200 degrees Celsius or 3992 degrees Fahrenheit. Originally developed on the Jiralhanae homeworld, development and production of the grenade was taken over by the Sacred Promissary mere months before the Great Schism. The Firebomb saw limited use among the Prophet of Truth's Jiralhanae forces in the final battles of the Human Covenant War, primarily used by brute stalkers. Fun fact, the toxic nature of cesium would render human flesh inedible to Jiralhanae, who have a noted taste for our species. And wrapping up their weaponry is a brute landmine, an explosive weapon that guards the boundaries of the multiplayer map Sandtrap. Little is known about these landmines, but they're triggered by proximity, at which point they shoot up out of the ground and explode. Damn, that landmine nearly got me. Luckily, I have super futuristic armor to keep me safe. And while you don't have to worry about strange landmines on a mysterious burial site. Cybersecurity is certainly something you in the 21st century should keep in mind. Whether you want to keep your data protected from potential theft or from a snooping ISP, a virtual private network like NordVPN is the way to do it. And right now, you can go to nordvpn.com/HaloCanon and use the promo code HaloCanon to get 68% off a new subscription. That's only $3.71 a month, plus an extra month for free. NordVPN is super fast with over 5,000 servers in 59 countries, it won't log your data, and offers 24/7 customer support, which is more than I can say about this damn armor. You ever try calling Mauler customer support? Me neither. It doesn't exist. Nord works on most major operating systems, meaning you can protect your data when on the go, be that at a public airport, or a remote desert on an ancient alien installation that you're on for some reason. No brutes are getting my browsing history. You can even set your location. I'm not on Sandtrap, I'm on Zanzibar Beach. So, whether you're concerned about cybersecurity or just want to watch some content unavailable in your sector of the galaxy, NordVPN is the best choice for you. I bet even Dr. Halsey would agree. So, go to nordvpn.com/HaloCanon and use promo code HaloCanon to start your subscription today. From there, we move on to the vehicles, starting with the familiar Type 32 Rapid Attack Vehicle, aka the Ghost, manufactured by the Eru Armory. The Ghost is propelled by a boosted gravity propulsion drive and, like its Halo 2 incarnation, features a seemingly unlimited boost function that provides a boost in speed at the cost of maneuverability. The gravity propulsion also makes the Ghost extremely capable on almost any type of terrain, able to climb up and over obstacles human vehicles might otherwise not be able to. The Ghost is armored with nano-laminate hull plating and features 2 Class 2 directed energy cannons for weapons. In the lore, they can be further armed with fuel rod cannons, though this is absent in Halo 3 and the Halo games at large. Ghosts are primarily used by Ungoi and Sangheili, though do find use by Jiralhanae on occasion. The Type 25 Rapid Assault Vehicle, or Brute Chopper, is the vehicle of choice for the Jiralhanae. Manufactured by the Sacred Promissary, the chopper is a fairly new creation with a somewhat ironic origin. What would eventually be called the chopper was accidentally created not long after first contact between humans and the Covenant in February of 2552. A Huragok lighter than some tried to build a peace offering to the humans of Harvest, an imitation of the human Jotun farming plows. Oblivious to the engineer's intent, some Jiralhanae attached spikers to either side of the vehicle for battle, creating the earliest iteration of the chopper. Over the course of the war, Jiralhanae would intermittently manufacture choppers themselves, but production was taken over by the Sacred Promissary in 2552 in lead up to what would become the Great Schism. The modern chopper retains many brute-like characteristics in its design language and weaponry, but has some additional Covenant technologies integrated. A pair of wheels primarily move the vehicle, but the driver's seat is held aloft by anti-gravity technology. The vehicle has a limited boost function not too dissimilar from the Ghost, allowing it to traverse various types of terrain. The chopper's primary weapons are 4 35mm autocannons, 2 on each side of the chassis. The chassis itself is something of a secondary weapon, as it can rip enemy vehicles apart. The Type 52 Infantry Support Vehicle, aka the Brute Prowler, is another Sacred Promissary design, the Jiralhanae equivalent to the Type 46 Spectre in terms of battlefield function. The origins of this vehicle are largely unknown at the moment, though speculation ranges from an Arctic fast attack vehicle to a naval patrol boat. In its Covenant configuration, the vehicle sports a driver and gunner position, along with a pair of metal runners that passengers can ride into battle on. The gunner uses a Class 1 plasma cannon on a 360-degree rotating ring, with the gunner seat situated in the center of the vehicle's body, providing significant protection. The Prowler's engine configuration is unknown, though it appears there's a gravity-based drive situated between the runners. The Wraith is an Assembly Forge's armored infantry support platform used by the Covenant. 2 variants appear in Halo 3. The Type 26 assault gun carriage is the main battle tank for Covenant ground engagements. Propelled by a boosted gravity propulsion drive, the Wraith, like most Covenant mainline vehicles, hovers above the ground, allowing it to traverse a wide variety of terrain with relative ease. This also provides the Wraith with a short but powerful gravity boost, useful for difficult terrain or ramming enemy infantry or armor. From within the Wraith's fully enclosed cockpit, a single pilot can operate the tank's movement, targeting, and firing control for its primary weapon, a Type 26 directed energy mortar. The Wraith model seen in Halo 3 features a change to its secondary weapon, a gunner seat with a Type 52 directed energy support weapon. In the lore, all Wraiths manufactured after 2549 featured this gunner seat rather than automated turrets. The second variety of Wraith seen in Halo 3 is the Type 52 Anti-Aircraft Artillery, or Anti-Air Wraith. Largely identical to the T-26 in most regards, the AA Wraith's main difference is its primary armament, 6 rapid-fire fuel rod cannons. The cannons fire in succession with the fuel rod rounds locking onto enemy air vehicles to eliminate their targets. They can also be quite devastating to ground vehicles, as evidenced by the frequent deployment of AA Wraiths against ground forces in urban environments. The Scarab returns in Halo 3, this model being the Type 47B Deuteros Ultra Heavy Assault Platform. Produced by the Assembly Forges, a quirk of UNSC administration resulted in 2 Scarab platforms being designated as the Type 47. Though traditionally meant for excavation, the Type 47B is much more combat-oriented than its Type 47A counterpart. Though cataloged in 2547, this Scarab model saw action on the battlefield as early as 2527, though in limited capacity, likely leading to its late documentation. While all Scarab models make extensive use of Letgolo colonies to operate the Scarab, the T-47B gives the meta colony that drives the platform much more control than other models. With a Type 47B, a supervisor simply guides the armored behemoth and directs artillery when needed. The T-47 is armored with 2 primary weapons. First is a front-mounted heavy focus cannon, which fires a devastating beam of plasma at near capital scale, though it's also capable of delicate stratigraphic excavation. Second is a rear-mounted heavy plasma cannon with a 360-degree targeting radius. In addition, it typically sports 3 T-52 plasma cannons, 1 on the rear and 2 on the sides. These combine with the 12 to 50 security personnel that are in place to prevent the Scarab from being boarded. The Scarab can deploy from low orbit, underside thrusters slowing its descent to a safe speed, and the legs absorbing the remaining impact. Once on the ground, the legs allow the Scarab to traverse almost any type of terrain, and it can even operate underwater to a limited degree. Despite its heavy armor and defenses, significant damage can disable the Scarab. If the legs take too much damage, it'll temporarily lock down. The rear covering can also be shot off with enough firepower. Behind this covering is the Scarab's central power junction, protected only by an energy shield. If this is destroyed, a chain reaction will cause the Scarab to explode. We next have the Banshee, an Assembly Forges produced aircraft. The variant encountered in Halo 3 is the Type 26C ground support aircraft, a variant encountered almost exclusively during humanity's last stand on Earth and the Battle of Installation 00. Visually similar to the Type 26A of Halo CE and Halo 2 Classic, the main distinction of the T-26C is the iridescent green canopy. The Banshee has been in use since before the founding of the Covenant. Originally a Sangheili-designed vehicle, like many technologies within the Covenant, the earliest of these aircraft were the Uztet Skeln, modeled and named after the predatory Skeln native to Sanghelios. Propelled by a boosted gravity propulsion drive, the modern Banshee can move at speeds over 100 km per hour or 62 miles per hour, its speed further augmented by a boost function much like the Type 32 Ghost. The gravity drive also allows the Banshee to perform a variety of aerial maneuvers, colloquially known as Banshee tricks. Like the other models of Banshee, the T-26C is armed with twin Class II DEML-AW plasma bolt/diffused cannons and a Class 3 HAAW-M heavy fuel rod cannon, known by UNSC troops as the Banshee Bomb. Halo 3 features the Type 52 troop carrier, aka the Phantom. Produced by the Assembly Forges, the Type 52 Phantom replaced earlier Type 44 models. The variant featured in Halo 3 is outfitted with a nose-mounted heavy plasma cannon and 2 Type 52 plasma cannons on either side of the troop bay. These deploy whenever the sides of the troop bay open. The Phantom is operated by a pilot, a co-pilot, a navigator and an operations officer, and can carry up to 30 passengers depending on the size of those passengers. Troops can be loaded or deployed from the underside gravity lift, the rear entry ramp, or the side ramps, the latter of which are most commonly used in Halo 3. The gravity systems on the underside of the Phantom can also carry 2 light vehicles such as Ghosts or Choppers, or attack vehicles like a Wraith. The Phantom is powered by twin impulse drives. Wrapping up the Covenant vehicles is the Type 31 Chi-pattern exo-atmospheric multi-role fighter, aka the Sarif, produced again by the Assembly Forges. Operated by a single pilot, usually either a Sangheili or a Jyril Hanai, the Sarif operates via a direct neural interface with the pilot's flight harness, with minimal safety cutouts and filters. This means that the system induces significant pain and can result in what's called interface burns. While Sangheili enter a meditative state before piloting Sarifs, Jyril Hanai usually use this pain to trigger their focus. The Sarif features a nanolaminate hull and energy shields, and has an auto repair suite. It's equipped with 4 Tevas Mu pattern heavy plasma cannons and 2 Novox pattern fuel rod cannons. Though intended for operation primarily in space, they can operate quite well in atmosphere. Wrapping up the Covenant side of things are weapon platforms, the first being the light automated plasma turrets found on the multiplayer map Snowbound. Very little is known of these cannons, but they fire superheated plasma, as is common of Covenant weaponry. The turrets are connected to motion detectors placed nearby, allowing them to automatically aim at and track enemy targets, firing upon them until they are dead. And finally, we have the Type 27 anti-aircraft cannon, or Mantis, produced by the Assembly Forges. Firing powerful bolts of plasma with deadly accuracy even at extreme ranges, the guns can be easily assembled fairly quickly with easily transported modules, making them easier to deploy than something like the bulky Type 38 Tyrant AA cannon. The main gun is connected to the tripod mount via a small joint, complemented by an energy field, giving it a full 360 degrees range of movement. The tripod features sniper platforms and is often defended by infantry, necessary as the gun is required to vent excess heat after each shot, leaving it quite vulnerable to enemy fire. The batteries are also often supported by nearby AA Wraiths. The Mantis platform was documented in 2527 and notably saw use during the Battle of Meridian and later during the Battle of Voi. More Mantises were being set up on the Ark when the Covenant arrived there, but intervention by the Master Chief and UNSC forces prevented them from being finished. And of course, we wrap up with a quick look at the one Forerunner weapon within this game, the Sentinel Beam. There's not much to say here that wasn't said in Halo 2's Armory video though. The Sentinel Beam operates almost identical to its Halo 2 counterpart, though only the standard gold beam is featured in this game. And that concludes the Covenant and, briefly Forerunner, armories for Halo 3. We still have more to talk about when it comes to Halo 3's overall armory, and I think you all know what I'm talking about, after which we'll move on to the differences between Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST's armories. But for now, this has been Halo Canon, and I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you really love me, hit that notification bell and leave a thumbs up. These both really help out the channel. I wouldn't be where I am now without your views and support, so once again, thank you. Keep on being awesome, Canonites.